Yes, hello and welcome to this video. In this video we are going to be looking at the word fraction. I'm going to write it down, the word fraction. What does the word fraction mean? Don't worry about my writing. I'm still learning how to use my writing too. What does the word fractions now? I added the extra word, the s as in plural, fractions. So you're looking at the word fraction. What does it mean? The word fraction comes from the word fracture, which means to break. In case you remember when you were told that someone fractured their bone, in other words, they broke part of their bone, they injured themselves. So the word fraction means to fract or to break. Let's take out this. What am I writing there? I don't even know what this is. So it's to fracture. Fracture means to break or to fract. Or this word also can come from the word fractus. The word fractus, which means to break, to break, to break, to break. You can imagine that as break, to break. So, to break what you say? If you can imagine, not that if you can imagine that a friend asked you what is a whole number. I mean, what is a whole number? Of course, you would say these are counting numbers. For example, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. You know, etc. Just a way of saying it continues on. So all these are whole numbers. And then if your friend asks you what is a fraction would be a portion of a whole number. So let's say, for example, forgive me. Let's say, for example, you had a whole number 5. You had this whole number, it's complete. So 5 would mean, for example, let's write it as pi. And this pi had 5 pieces. You have 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have all these types of pieces of pi, and then your friend is okay. Let's try the other one. Yes. So yeah, you have this pi. So if you count these pieces, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is 5. We have how many pieces of 5? How many pieces of this pi? 5 pieces. So if we divide the pi, in other words, if we break, or in other words, if we fracture this pi into 5 pieces, the whole complete pi is 5. So when we fracture the pi, we break it into pieces. That will be, for example, let's say break it into 5 pieces. We can have 5 over 5. 5 over 5 means the same thing as 1 over 1, because 5 goes in 5 one times and 5 goes in 5 1. So 1 over 1, that gives us 1. That's actually a whole complete thing, also a whole complete number. Let's say a person asked you how many of that pi is blue. So I would say, okay, blue, that will be 1, 2, 3. Just go there and literally count them. So 3 of the pi is blue. So we broke the pie into 3 blue pieces. So if you're told to write a fraction of those 3 blue pieces of the whole pie, that will be the guy who eats too much will get 3 blue over the whole thing, which is 5. Now right there, this what we have written right here, this what we have written right here is a fraction. This is a fraction, so this person will not get the whole 5 or the whole, but will get 3 over 5. We'll get 3 over 5. So 3 over 5 is a fraction, and what is left of the pie if someone takes 3 and you had 5 pieces? So what is left? It's 2. So 2 of those remaining pieces, one of the pieces, let me say someone asked you what pieces of the pie are yellow? You, of course, you would go there and you'd count the yellow pieces. 1, only 1. So out of the whole number, it's 1 over 5. 1 over 5. That's a 5 right there, don't worry. That's a 5. Oh, my writing today is horrible. So 1 over 5. So 1 over 5, 1 over 5 equals to yellow. And 3 over 5 equals to blue. Blue is 3 over 5. And what is the remaining piece? The remaining one is pink. How many of the whole pie, the whole 5 pieces of pie, were actually pink? One was actually pink. So just 1. So writing it as a fraction of the whole thing, of the whole, it will be 1 over 5 of the pieces are actually pink. So yeah, to sum up, what is a fraction? So a fraction is a piece of the whole thing. So yes, this thing here, this messy thing here, is anything that it has shown us, we will take that one. Let's just to sum up what is a fraction. So to sum up, a fraction is a piece of the whole thing. Okay, piece of the pie. For those who like the pie, let me just take this, copy this, and let me put it there, edit, paste. So yes, you have a pie fraction. Piece of this pie is a broken piece of the pie. If you break the whole pie into 5 pieces, one portion of those pieces is called a fracture. Called a fracture or a fractus. You can call it whatever you want, but a fractus. So fractus, called a fractus. Now let me write it down there. Fractus. Fractus means to break. That's what we have learned. Fractus means to break. So if you break that into pieces, if you break 5 into pieces, you will be getting those divisions, or those pieces are actually fractions. For example, in this case, we found out that we can break it into 3 blue, 3 over the whole thing 5. This is a fraction. And then you can also break it as into yellow. So 1 over 5 of the whole thing, that is a fraction. So what is really nice about the fraction is you can break any number into any number or any whole thing, anything can be broken into fractions. Guess 1/5 also for the pink part, also a fraction. So yes, all these divisions, all these breakings are all fractions. We can break it further into further small pieces. All we'll be breaking, or what we'll be doing is just fracturing it, making it into more fractions. Okay, the whole thing, if the whole thing was blue, that would be 5/5. That would be a whole, which is 1, which is actually, we haven't broken it into anything. Anyways, so let's talk about the fractions. Let's talk about these fractions. What about the fractions? We have now discovered that fractions are actually pieces of anything. I mean, the whole thing. So okay, anything can be expressed as into fraction if you break it down. So if we have discovered that anything can be expressed into fraction when you break it down, now what we are going to do is talk about these fractions. Let's talk about 3/5. So what do we see? This is a fraction. What can we denote from a fraction, or what do we learn from a fraction? We learn right away that a fraction has a number, has two numbers, one number has two numbers and a line. These are the numbers 3 and 5 and a line. So 3, the number on top of the line is called, bear with me, is called the numerator. So the number always on top of the line is called the numerator. And the number at the bottom of the line, under the line or below the line, is called the denominator. Denominators. So any fraction, so a fraction is a number that has a numerator and a denominator. What are fractions used for? We use fractions in a lot of applications to divide wills, to divide someone's inheritance, for example in a will, share with the family, to convert percentages to fractions, to convert percentages to decimals. So yeah, that's what fractions are. A number that has a numerator and a denominator with a straight line, with a horizontal line separating the two numbers. That's a fraction. This right here is a fraction. If a friend asked you what a fraction is, fraction just simply means to break something that is whole, that is complete, into pieces. That is simply what fraction is. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. Hope you now know what a fraction is. See you in the next lecture. Bye bye.